Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to the Utility Safety and Environment Committee meeting for Wednesday, April 17th, 2024. The first item on our agenda is the approval of the April 3rd, 2024 Utilities Committee meeting minutes. Can I get a motion, please?
So moved.
Second. The moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. The next item on the agenda is the matter of an agreement with ODOT for maintenance repairs on I-90. Engineer McKillop, please.
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair. This is a request for approval to have the mayor enter into agreement with ODOT for general maintenance on this section of I-90, starting from the Turnpike Gates to State Route 611. This is just standard paperwork that ODOT needs to have on file, just because that section of I-90 is through the city of Elyria.
And you're requesting an emergency?
Yes, please.
And it costs the city of Elyria nothing?
Nothing.
And we've done this for them many times in the past. Okay. Are there any questions for Engineer McKillop? Seeing none, I'll read the committee report. We have considered the matter of an agreement with ODOT for maintenance repairs on I-90, and this is an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into agreement with ODOT to perform said maintenance repairs on I-90 at no cost to the city. Emergency clause is requested to start summer of '24. Can I get a motion, please?
So moved. Second.
Moved by Mr. Oswald, second by Mr. Stewart. Any additional questions or comments?
Call for the question.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The next item on the agenda is the matter of a change order for the ESRS, which is the East Side Relief Sewer, Phase 1D 2N project. Engineer McKillop.
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair. On the East Side Relief Sewer, the current phase that we're, have half the city torn up with, on East Bridge Street, while we were installing the big sewer and the big chamber in front of the Smitty's place, we found that the water main between the Railroad Bridge and Cleveland Street was in a condition that every time we had to turn the valve, change the valve, relocate something, we were basically popping holes in it. So our department decided to go ahead and replace that main for that section between the Railroad Bridge and Cleveland Street. Because this wasn't part of the original plan, what I want to do is request a change order for the funds, about $400,000, to come out of our water fund and not out of our sewer fund. That way we'll go ahead and just make the transaction. We do have funds included in our permanent 2024 budget for miscellaneous water main replacements. So we do have that covered, but we just don't want it to come out of our sewer funds that's already taxed with the cost of the project as it is.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Engineer McKillop?
I have a question just in regards to, so, yes, Madam Chair, through you. So the $400,000 is going to come out of the water funds. I'm guessing you spoke with it, Finance Director Pulaski, in regards to where this, coming out of this department funding account?
Yes, kind of. Yes, kind of.
Okay.
I do believe the funds have been appropriated.
Yes.
Is that correct? Are you done, Mr. Stewart? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Mrs. Zawarka?
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair. I was just curious, the condition of the water main there was not known when Bridgeport Commons was, it must not be tied there, so they didn't have any idea?
The Commons are actually tied onto the main, into the main on East River Street.
Oh, so that's why
yeah,
it wasn't discovered. Okay. And then if I could, Madam Chair, looks like there's a big dig or something hole near the East River of the railroad bridge. Is that part of this, or is that something the railroad's doing?
That's probably part of this, although the railroad will be doing,
Right on the corner of East River,
on the
Yeah.
south side?
I never do that right. It's close to the bridge, it's close to the bridge walkway on the East River side of East Bridge. There
By
are
Get-Go
barricades,
or by the Commons? By Get-Go or the Commons?
before you cross under the bridge, right at the corner of East River, the little stub that goes up the hill.
Oh, okay. Yes, I believe that we were locating,
Maybe that's where the valves are.
yes, that's where we are doing an abandonment.
Okay,
Of the main-
thank you, Madam Chair.
Mr. Oswald? You good? Mrs. Deary?
Through you, Madam Chair, Engineer McKillop, just so for purposes of crafting anticipated legislation, is this the first change order for this project?
Yes.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Seeing none, I'll read the committee report. We have considered the matter of a change order for East Side Relief Sewer Phase 1D 2N project for the replacement of the water main on East Bridge Street to be added to the project. And this is an ordinance authorizing the approval of the said change order for the said project at cost not to exceed $400,000 from the water fund. Those funds are appropriated. Emergency clause is requested due to timing of the work on East Bridge Street. Can I get a motion, please?
So move.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Davis, second by Mr. Armstrong. Any additional questions and/or comments? Question. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. The next item on the agenda is the matter of amendments to the agreement of the consent decree overflow monitoring service. Engineer McKillop.
Yes, thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. We're requesting an amendment to our agreement with CT Consultants for an additional $41,000 for additional flow monitoring that during the course of the past few months that we've started doing this flow monitoring, we've determined that we needed additional information. So this $41,000 will cover the cost of the equipment, the labor, and the additional time that'll take us through the remaining 3 years that we're required to have these monitors monitor our flow.
This is something that's required by the EPA
Yes, it's in our consent decree.
in our consent decree. Okay. Any questions for Engineer McKillop? Seeing none, I'll read the committee report. We have considered the matter of an amendment to agreement for professional services to monitor overflows in the sewer system per consent decree. And this is an ordinance authorizing the mayor to approve the said amendment for the consent decree flow monitoring services to add $41,000 to the agreement. Funds are available in the WWPC fund. Can I get a motion, please?
Second.
I apologize. Who made the motion? Mr. Oswald, and second by Mrs. Davis. Any other additional questions and/or comments?
Call for the question.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Ms. Engineer McKillop, is this an emergency?
Yes, please.
Does the second concur? This needs to be an emergency.
Yes,
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the matter of applying for and accepting, if awarded, a SAFER grant, which is staffing for adequate fire and emergency response grant to hire 3 new firefighters. Chief Perneski.
Good one.
I skipped one. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. I apologize. I apologize. Let me read. I apologize. The agenda item is the matter of advertising for bids and entering into a contract for the Overbrook Pump Station Number 2 project. Engineer McKillop.
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair. We're requesting authorization to advertise for bid and award a contract for another project that's required through our consent decree. In the Overbrook area, we've had an overflow issue. We currently have one pump station there. That pump station cannot keep up with the wet weather flow that's going through it, as well as the actual sewage that's going through it. So we have plans to add a second pump station and force main to the north side of the Overbrook area. The project will alleviate the overflow, and with the help of the residents in that area, our wastewater crew, in conjunction with our consultant and our residents, have graciously made sure that they're compliant with our no clean water into the sanitary sewers. And with that help, we're able to get this pump station sized to where we can actually get it to fit in the location we need it to be. We will be using a DEFA loan, a WPCLF loan through the EPA to pay for this project, and the loan will be paid back over 30 years.
Great. Does this need to be an emergency?
No.
Thank you. Mr. Oswald, hold your hand up.
Through you, Madam Chair. So I know I've had a little discussion on this before, and it will be adding one. It's not taking out the old and just making a bigger one. First question.
We are adding a second pump station.
Okay. And will it be in the same area as the one is right now, which is just west of where the generator is? Am I correct?
It'll actually be east of where the existing one is. So if you head towards east and there's a fork in the road, that's where it'll be.
Okay, and then, Madam Chair, so the work that will go on from Gulf Road to that point, is this where I'm gonna be able to get a new road in there because we have to do some underground work to get us there?
Pretty much.
Can you explain?
Well, we'll be installing we're actually going to be installing 2 new force mains. A new force main from the new pump station to a manhole close to Gulf Road. And we'll want to verify that the sewer from that manhole out to Gulf Road is in good condition and can also handle the flow from these 2 pump stations. We're also going to be installing a brand new force main, from the existing pump station up to that same manhole. So that's quite a bit of distance actually we just decided that probably within the last couple months, going through sewer modeling of that area. That should pretty much take care of the north side pavement area.
Madam Chair again. And I do want to thank the residents because about a year ago, they were sent out letters and they were told what they had to do to get that clean water deal so that it wasn't going in and to relieve some of that tension. And of course, a lot of them were upset, but I think they did try to accommodate, and hopefully that worked out where we got less flow into that thing. So I want to thank the residents for that. Thank you.
Through you, Madam Chair. So is there an estimated cost that what this is going to cost us? Or I know did you say you're going to look for a grant? So what's the estimated cost?
4 million.
4 million?
But the loan, if I heard you correctly, can be paid back over 30 years.
Mhm.
Keep a zero or low?
This one, I mean, it is a low interest, but I'm not sure what it is right now. I think it's like 3 point something-ish.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Mrs. Zaworka?
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair. This won't replace the one that's down at the bottom by where Mrs. Hayes' house used to be, at the bottom of, where
No.
the Ellis live?
Correct.
That one still stays?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions and/or comments? Seeing none, I'll read the committee report. We have considered the matter to advertise for bids and enter into a contract for the Overbrook Pump Station 2 project. And this is an ordinance authorizing the mayor to advertise for bids and enter into a contract for said project, which is a requirement of the consent decree. Funds are appropriated, the WWPC fund.
So move.
Second.
Been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Chief Berneski, your turn. And this is the matter of applying for and accepting, if awarded, a SAFER grant. Chief Berneski.
Good evening. I'd like to put in for a SAFER grant, which is a government FEMA grant, if you will, that provides for the salaries of firefighters for a 3-year period. If you remember years ago when we were having some difficult financial times, we utilized the SAFER. This time around, what I would like to do is put in for this grant to add 3 firefighters, and what that would do is our shifts currently are, we operate 3 shifts. Each shift right now is at 22 members each, with a minimum staffing of 15 firefighters on duty every day. If we get this grant, it would be my intention to raise our minimum staffing to 16, and it would have little effect, if any, on overtime. So we're adding to each shift, and we would be able to put more firefighters on the street daily. Also, with the talk of a new station, 16 is what right now we would need to operate. But let me be clear, we can run 4 fire stations with our current staffing of 22-man shifts. We did it for 50 years, at least. So, but this would give us a cushion, and we would also, more importantly, when we write this grant, at 16 firefighters on duty, we would meet what is called NFPA Standard 1710, which provides the bare minimums of what is expected for a single-family house fire in a 22,000 square foot home. Right now, that standard is 16, so we really don't meet it right now. But this would also, we would cover that standard, and that is extremely important all the way around.
Chief Berneski, so if I heard you correctly, this will be for a period of 3 years?
It would be 3 years from the time that it's granted, yes.
And what happens after that 3rd year?
Well, it would be on the city, but a plus is that within that 3-year time frame, we're going to have quite a few attrition. Nobody cry, but I would be one of those. So, yeah, right, okay. But we would have enough attrition.
Okay.
So it's not like the old days of the SAFER grants that we're sitting there, what do we do, what do we do? So we're not adding to our other issues.
Thank you for that.
Yep.
Mr. Oswald, I saw your hand up.
Okay, that was going to be my question, but, okay, never mind, go ahead. That question just flew right out of my head.
You know where to reach me.
Floor Director Deary.
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair. Just, Chief, just for purposes of anticipated legislation. What's the application deadline, and just looking to see if this has to be an emergency?
It has to be an emergency. We actually, the deadline was April 12th. So we went ahead and put in for it, and if something were to happen where it was rejected, we would just not accept it so we had to get it in by the 12th.
Mrs. Davis?
Through you, Madam Chair. So what are our chances of receiving this grant? We have in the past.
We did, but the circumstances and how we wrote the grant are different than how I wrote it this time around. Years ago, when we wrote it, we were under severe fiscal issues. We had laid off firefighters, and that was the grant was basically because we had firefighters on the unemployment line. This time around, I'm writing this grant to get us to a standard and also incorporating the possibility of a new Southeast fire station. So the chances, I really don't know. I will say that, you know, it's very competitive, but you know what? You have to take a gamble if you want to do your job. So I felt that this is a appropriate gamble.
Thank you, Chief. Are there any, Mr. Stewart?
Yes, through you, Madam Chair, to Chief Pronesti. So the ordinance that was attached to this referral, 2021-25, so we currently have the SAFER grant has run out.
I don't know what you're talking about, which ordinance.
And that might be what you're speaking to, Chief Pronesti, in regards to this 3-year.
Law Director.
Law Director Derry.
Through you, Madam Chair. Chief, previously in 2021, we submitted an application for a SAFER grant. I don't know that that was granted to us, if we actually received it.
No.
Okay.
This is the same process in
Same
regards to
process. We didn't
Same
get that
grant,
one.
okay.
We didn't get that
Okay,
one.
so we went out for it, and that's where we
I
are.
just kind of wanted to confirm it, just was
Right, but we got
kind of
one,
the same intent.
we got ones previous to that, law director,
Right.
too, like 2 of them, but that was years ago. Sorry.
That's okay.
Any other questions for Chief Pronesti? Is there a match on?
No, ma'am.
Okay, great. Okay. Seeing none, I'll read the committee report. We have considered the matter of applying for staffing for adequate fire and emergency response grant, SAFER grant, for the fire department to hire 3 firefighters. And this is an ordinance authorizing the mayor to apply for and accept if offered the said grant. Emergency clause requested. Can I get a motion, please?
So moved.
Second. Moved by Mrs. Davis, second by Mr. Armstrong. Any other questions?
Question.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Berneski. The next item on the agenda is the matter of approval for Elyria Community Partnership, ECP, to hold their third Thursday events and other festivals in Ely Square and Pioneer Park for the 2024 season. Director Reardon.
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair. So this went to the Park Board on February 8th. Elyria Community Partnership, I believe, is in their 3rd year of doing different events around town. So I can just go through the list real quick and let you know where they plan to have them. May, they're doing a movie night, Pioneer Plaza. June starts their 3rd Thursdays. That will be in the square. July, 3rd Thursday will be in the square. They're looking to do a dining under the stars in the square, also in July. August 3rd Thursday in the square. September, a movie night in Pioneer Plaza. And then October, a fall festival in Pioneer Plaza. And those are the events that I have received and that they talked to the Park Board about so far. And it was approved through the Park Board. So just coming here to kind of let you guys know what's going on and get approval.
Thank you, Director Reardon. Any questions? Just a minute, Mr. Oswald.
Through you, Madam Chair. 2-3 years ago, I sat down at the Parks Board and brought an idea together for something that would work really good in these events, and still has nothing happened with my popcorn machine.
Through you, Chair. It was talked about. In fact, it's been talked about numerous times. We've talked actually to ECP about it, and before I think we talked to Invest Elyria about it. And I mean, there's some concerns. There's quite a few concerns. I know the big one was getting volunteers to do it, you know, to be consistent to do it. It's something I can bring up again with them to see if it's something that they would be interested in. It's been talked about.
Through you, Madam Chair, I know it's kind of goofy, but it's just something that I've seen in Sandusky is really cool. And you know what, like the Indians games and things, they have church groups and things that run these different, you know, selling pop and all that other stuff. And to get community involvement was the big thing. To have the different community people, you know, the churches and the baseball teams and basketball teams, to work those, I think it's a really good idea. So I wish you could press that idea. Thank you.
Mr. Oswald, I believe that when these volunteers work at the Guardians games, they do get part of the proceeds, I believe.
I know.
So, Mrs. O'Rourke, I saw your hand up.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just find it interesting that the community partnership glossy brochure already listed all these things, so they must have assumed we were going to say yes. I do have one question in that, does the library need to give any kind of approval for the use of these areas at all? Are they, the back parking, I don't know what the agreement is with the library and the parking over there.
Through you, Madam Chair, I mean, the agreement will be specifically for city property. Obviously, I can't speak to any agreement that they may have. I mean, clearly, if they're going to be using other people's property, including the library, yes, they will need to speak with them. The parking lot directly behind the Arts Council is city. The part, you know, again, off the top of my head, I can't speak to that parking lot, but I believe the parking lot behind Pioneer Plaza is city, although there is a use agreement with the library. So, but yes, I mean, obviously they would need to make those arrangements if they're going to be using other people's property, as I'm sure you know. Oftentimes in previous years, you know, they have collaborated with both the Arts Council and with the library. So I would hope that they would do so.
Through the chair, I would encourage Mrs. Reardon to make sure that they, at least as a courtesy, say something to the library when they're going to be there. I agree. I don't think that they need the library's permission, or it is a courtesy.
That's a good neighbor thing, absolutely. And just for the record, you know, upon council approving this, there will be a use agreement, as there were in years past for, say, the farmers market in Ely Square. That's why we want to make sure we have the dates, and we'll make sure that there's proof of insurance, all those types of things. So,
Through the chair, if I may, that reminded me of another question then. For any of these events where the alcohol would be,
No alcohol.
well, the Dining Under the Stars one,
through you, Madam Chair, I mean, I'd heard, again, just rumblings of this, but absolutely, I mean, that's park property. Anytime you liquor license,
we have to sign off on it.
any property owner would need to. The Parks Board would have to approve that. I know that many years ago, Main Street, you know, had a Dining Under the Stars. I believe they did have a liquor license for that, but that is definitely something that would need to, you know, go through the proper channels. And I believe Mrs. Reardon said that event's in July. I mean, as many of you probably know, I mean, that's a time-sensitive process to get a liquor license. So, I mean, again, I don't know the details about what they're planning, but then that's all going to be part of the agreement that we put in place.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we can all pray. Oh, Mrs. Reardon.
Yeah, if I could, through you, Madam Chair, a few things. One, I do know that the library is typically at a lot of these events with ECP, at least at Pioneer Plaza, but I will follow up with them about that, because absolutely they should know. And then, as far as, I just found out, I want to say last week or the week before, that they were thinking about having alcohol at the Dining Under the Stars. So I told them that they needed to come back to Park Board, because that is not something that they asked about, and that it did have to be approved through Park Board. So they did ask to be on the agenda for the May meeting at Park Board, so it will be discussed then. Whether Park Board approves it, I have no clue, but then if they do, obviously there's a process, that we will go through and it'll come back. But,
Yes, sorry.
Law Director
Yeah,
Beal.
through you, Madam Chair, I mean, again, that's ultimately, that's something that if council feels very strongly about, and obviously the Park Board feels strongly about, they should certainly make their thoughts known about. Again, one of the issues with Ely Square is, and I can only speak from personal experience, but typically the area needs to be cordoned off, and when you have a square that's surrounded by streets and it's public access and everything, I'm not saying it's impossible, but again, there's quite a bit of detailed planning that has to go into play. And again, honestly, we'd have to look at the restrictions based on the Ely Trust and other things. And I can tell you, the Safety Service Director and I looked at some of those documents not too distant past, and they're rough. Physically, they are rough to go through. So, but yes, we will do that if that's what's needed.
One thing I can say is that the community seems to respond well, especially to the third Thursdays and the things that we have down in Pioneer Plaza. And this year, if we could just pray that it doesn't rain every
Thursday.
single time. So, yeah, I mean, every third Thursday last year it rained on them. So, but they still did fantastic. They moved it to St. Mary. They had great crowds. So it worked out well. Are there any other additional comments or questions? Okay, I'll read, emergency clause requested?
Yeah, the first one's in May, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All righty. I'll read the committee report. We have considered the matter of authorizing the Elyria Community Partnership, ECP, to hold their third Thursday and other summer events in Ely Square and Pioneer Park for the 2024 season. And this is an ordinance authorizing the use of Ely Square and Pioneer Plaza to be used for said summer events. Emergency clause requested. Can I get a motion, please?
So moved.
Second. Moved by Mr. Oswald, second by Mr. Armstrong. Any other questions?
Question.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Now, the most exciting part of the evening, the 2024 streets. And I know you've all been waiting for it, so let's get to it. Engineer McKillop, if you recall, how much money are we getting, if anybody recalls?
214.
Say that again. Oh, thank you.
214,286.
So we're each, per ward, we're going to use $214,286.
Sorry. If I'm correct, I believe,
I think it's 248.
I think it's like 285. I think we have 2 million.
I know we have 2 million. Mr. Sarah, I see your hand up.
For you, Madam Chair, I believe the first figure was 242,000, give or take. And didn't we get an extra 300,000?
I believe so.
And so that would take it to the 280, maybe.
So I like that number better. So we're gonna go with 280,000, and if we're not correct, Mr. Pileski will let us know. Mrs. Zaworka?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just clarification. The green and yellow one, this is last year's? That's, I think, what confused me.
No, this is this year.
It says draft list 2022 at the top. This one.
Yeah, I think that's the correct one. I think the label just wasn't changed before our.
Okay, so this is the proposed list?
Yes.
Well, that's a list just to give you an idea
Of
of.
how much these streets cost.
Oh,
Right,
correct. Thank you.
Second page is
And then, yeah. And then this is the ranking. And so 1 is the worst, 4 is the best. So, Mr. Armstrong, you have a question?
For you,
sir?
Madam Chair, I'm just curious on, 4 of my streets didn't make it on this list that I added. and then some of the rankings on my list do not reflect the rankings that me and Mr. Forthover did on our ride-along. So I'm just trying to understand what I'm looking at here.
Through you, Madam Chair. And Mr. Forthover can chime in if he'd like. So Mr. Forthover did the ride-alongs with council members through their wards. And we have information from those ride-alongs. Since the transition between myself and my co-person, you know, John, he's taken the way he does it is different than the way I do it. So he's gone through and ranked the streets the way he sees it.
Okay.
And he basically picked the streets that he believes are the ones that he sees that may be the most beneficial. Knowing that, so today I started looking at a list. Unfortunately, I didn't look at a list before that because we didn't know until whenever it was that we were postponing the last meeting and that I was going to end up being here and not the city engineer. But the streets that, Mr. Armstrong, the streets that you have on your list that aren't on here, not a problem. You want to put it on here, we can do that.
We can always get a price for it.
Yep, we can, and I had an opportunity to look at some of the streets that I know did not make it on to this list. And I did, put some numbers in there. Unfortunately, I didn't have enough time to do all, the other ones today, but, looking at, Mr. Forthover's formula that, you know, he used while, you know, the, councilmen were doing their ride-alongs, I think that's pretty close to what the numbers will be. So, you know, if we need to, we can pull up Google and take a measurement.
Mr. Armstrong?
Through you, Madam Chair. On my list here, from me doing my own ranking with Mr. Forthover and what Mr. Snyder ranked them as, I only have 3 on this list that actually compared to what I ranked out of the 18 that are on here, not the total 22. I'm just, like I said, I'm just trying to have a better understanding why I even did the ride along if it was just going to be done like this. Thank you.
I would just say, Mr. Armstrong, and to anyone else, if you feel that a street needs to be done, let's put it on your list. Go get a price for it. We only have so much money to spend. $280,000, it doesn't go far. It does not go far. If you want a street done and it's within your budget.
Well, I'm sorry, through you, Chair.
Yes.
Madam Chair, that's what I was trying to see, how much the additional 4 streets that I added was going to cost, but they're not on here.
Understood. Mr. Sarah, let us come back to you, Mr. Armstrong. Mr. Sarah.
So, through you, Madam Chair, usually in the past, we've been able to plug the street in right here at this time with a figure on there.
Yes, sir.
And I think that would be important for Mr. Armstrong to know.
So what I'm hearing you say is you all want to postpone this?
No, I'm not saying that. She can usually plug it in live while we're going.
What the streets Mr. Armstrong is requesting, what they will cost? Either yourself or Mr. Forthover or Justin. I mean, 'cause if we can make it work, we can make it work.
If you could tell me I have your list. I just need to know which streets without trying to compare.
So, through you, Madam Chair, Riverside's not on there, Cedar Street's not on there, Cascade Street's not on there, and Water Street's not on there.
Before we go any further, okay, hold on. Before we go any further, Mr. Lippian isn't here this evening. I'm assuming that he's still not well. We didn't hear from him, but I'm assuming he's still not well. But we're gonna move on because we wanna get this done so that we can have it done for the summer. We'll allow engineering to pick his streets. If he has any changes after the fact, he's welcome to work with engineering to make those. And the clerk's office did reach out. Ms. Rosario, she emailed him, she called him, she texted him with no response. So, but we are gonna move forward. So I just didn't want anyone to think I was fighting Mr. Lippian. That's not it at all. So, did I see someone else with their hand up? Oh, Mrs. Zerwirk, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. I thought that Cedar Street was put on the fire department's, capital budget. Well,
No, I'm sorry, I'm just trying.
yeah, Cedar was on there, repairs to Cedar. Maybe it's just in front of the station. I don't know. So we could check into that, because I thought I remember seeing that.
Through you,
remember
Madam Chair, I thought that was all part of the project for the improvements on East Broad Street coming down over and through, and I thought Cedar Street heading south or north was kind of being considered under what, referring to what Ms. Sawerka said. I thought that was kind of under that, but I guess that's something that we need to look into.
Director Pianowski,
I don't remember the street itself being included, through you, Madam Chair, I apologize. I think we're repairing the parking lot there. I don't know that the street was, but we can double check, but I don't remember it the same, but I'd be happy to look into that.
okay, so we have all that out of the way. Shall we begin? Let's start with Ward 2, Mrs. Davis.
Okay. Through you, Madam Chair, as I look at it, of course, they don't have Louisiana on here. And on the green sheet, on the, rating sheet, it's not on here. But Louisiana is in a bad shape. And also, since it's concrete, I'm wondering, is the prices that show on the sheet, is that for my spots? Or, because I know we can't afford to do the whole street as concrete. So are those the spots where you just pick out the sections that's much needed? Or how's this paving? Louisiana. Louisiana from West River to Furnace, and Louisiana from Furnace to Lorraine Boulevard. There. So are they just gonna do, like it should be spotted out? That's what those costs are.
Or concrete spot repair.
Okay, it didn't even make the rankings, but it is bad. So, those two sections there, of Louisiana, so that means all the way from, West River to Lorraine Boulevard on Louisiana. Okay, and so, same thing with Morgan. His spots is concrete, so they can do that in the spot. And so what's left? A couple of, Euclid Street. I got almost $40,000 left. Clinton.
I'll be happy to do that.
Clinton from, the railroad tracks to Bell. That spot out too.
You're $2,000 over.
Well, maybe they'll work that out when they come to working on the streets, that they'll figure out they went over budget a little bit.
Okay. Okay. So you said, I apologize, Clinton and Euclid. Yep. Louisiana from Lorraine, from Furnace all the way to Lorraine Boulevard.
No, from Lorraine Boulevard all the way to West River.
West River, excuse me, and then Morgan.
Yes.
Okay.
These streets are all, concrete streets, so they'll be doing work in the
patches.
sections, yes,
All
and
right.
not the whole thing.
Ward 3, Mrs. Zawarka.
Thank you. So I have a question because I'm sharing a number of streets with Ward 1, it looks like. After we did the ride-along, Purdue and Baldwin was discussed, and I think that either they're changing when the wards change or they changed, I'm not sure. So, Baldwin is both on my list and Mr. Lippian's list. Baldwin is bad, and I think Mr. Forthover would agree that Baldwin, the entire length of Baldwin needs to be done. So I'm not sure how we're splitting up the cash, but that's, the 83 I'm assuming is for half of it? Did they split it half and half, half and one, half and three? Because I don't think that would be enough to do all of Baldwin, would it? 80,000? Seems low. It might be that it's split, because if you look at line 33, Kathy, it's Warren to Abbey, and then in Ward 1, they might have the other part. Well, no, it says Warren to South Abbey, so I'm not sure. Bill, does that number sound right to you for the whole street?
Mr. Forthover, would you come up to the mic, please? We want to be able to hear you, and thank you for coming. 'Cause you look like you might be in a little pain. I know. But we appreciate you being here.
I think there's a little confusion here, and this will make it a little easier for each and every one of you, Mr. Armstrong especially. We've all decided on which ones are your number ones, the ones that we really want. One in particular, Mary, is Garford. We're gonna do a stretch of Garford for asphalt overlay. That's one of your streets.
Right.
We have a value to that. We need to go through each one of your wards and tell me which ones are your absolute number ones. And Mrs. Davis, when it comes to the concrete, if you want to do Louisiana, I have to take the time out there to measure it. It's hard for me to just, or Catherine, to give you an estimate because I have to go through and Swiss cheese measure it all up so that we can plug the quantities in that were relative from last year and put it in with this year. So if you really, and you picked all concrete streets, and we had some asphalt streets on here that you liked also. So Mrs. Davis, if you're gonna pick the concrete ones, I need to go out with the guys, and we really need to field measure, and I need to plug in a quantity to that concrete street to give you an accurate estimate. Right now, I have about 10 streets that you and I discussed, and then when we get here tonight, you're picking all concrete, and I can't really, or our department can't give you an accurate number because the streets it might have this many square feet or it might not have this many. So as we go through this tonight, I want to get through this and everybody gets their picks. We need to look at which ones do you want to do. You give me your top 5 or 6 number ones. We'll start with the first number one, and we'll start going through it and give your numbers and go backwards to your 280,000. That's what I think we should do to make this simple tonight. Does that help, Mary?
Yeah, it did, through the chair. So I think what you're saying then is, okay, on Ward 3, Garford, Yale to Colgate, but it's also under Ward 1, Park to Garford on Vassar, that's on the corner. Those are, trying to remember now. Vassar was concrete, but Garford is paved, right?
Yes.
So Garford on Ward 3 list, Yale to Colgate, that's a resurfacing. So that could get moved over, that's 26,000.
That's half. That's half of the cost.
No, because, Ward 1 he's got the other half. He's got Park to Garford. That's a different part. That's the street. That's a concrete street, and that wasn't a high-ranking one when I went with you, Bill. Garford between Yale and Colgate, A is resurfaced and B is in bad shape. I think it borders on 1 and 3. I think there's a piece of it that is Ward 1, and then after Yale, I think it becomes Ward 3, so that's why it's kind of in between. But that 26,000 is just for Garford itself. We can get it down to the intersection of Vassar and Garford, but that's not $64,000 worth, I don't think. Do you think, Bill? Remember, it was just that one section in the 300 block of Vassar. That's the 300 block.
I can measure it, we can get
Okay.
you a better number.
Okay, and-
If that's what you want, we can share it with Mr. Lippian, is what you're saying?
Well, I did talk to him briefly, but it was a long time ago, but
And, you know, as long as we've been doing this, we've never had council members share streets, so.
okay.
Right,
Well,
you're right.
but, yeah, because Purdue is not on here at all, but was Purdue determined to be in 1? Because I had Purdue as the entire length, and that's a concrete street. And it's not on his list, and it was on my list I submitted, but it's not on either one of these.
Purdue is on 1. Purdue is on 1 from Prospect to Warren, and then from Warren to South Abbey. Ward 1? It's on Ward 1.
Oh, it's not on this.
It's on the ranking.
Okay,
excuse me.
okay, it's on this
It's on
other
the
one.
ranking.
Yeah. I don't agree that it's a 2.5 or a 3 ranking.
Yeah.
Who ranked that? Who did that?
Mr. Schneider?
John did?
Yes.
Okay.
There's a little difference of opinion
Okay,
between our
yeah,
ride-along and Mr.
I agree
Schneider.
that, yeah. The other ones on Ward 3, I'm just speaking on the Ward 3 list here. We'll have to figure out what to do about Baldwin, but those other ones are all concrete. So if you moved all those others over, I probably could get all of those done. Because those are all concrete streets. And then, the only other one that I don't see on here at all was, there's a huge section of Songbird. It's not on here at all, but I submitted it. There's a broken section of Songbird in front of, the 800 block of Songbird. But that's a concrete street. Ashland and Vanderbilt spot repairs, California, Georgia, Hampton. Nebraska's on here. The only other one that I don't see that was on the list was, concrete spot repairs on Tennessee. That got taken, I don't see that at all.
So the list you emailed us, Mary.
Yeah, yeah, Tennessee is,
If we went through your list, and the first one that we have was Songbird at Sandpiper, and it goes to Nebraska, Vassar, and so on, as you and I,
right,
we drove along.
right.
If
But
I
they're not
go
on-
through those and measure those from top to bottom, how you submitted them, and we do the quantity, are you gonna be good with that? Because
Yeah, that's fine.
I'll
Yeah, 'cause
measure it.
those are just spot repairs.
I'll
Right.
measure it until your money runs out, and then we'll stop. So if we get 3/4 down the list and we get to Sonesta, then that'll be it, and then we'll put Purdue, Baldwin, Songbird, Tennessee onto your list for next year. That's kind of what we did last year.
Okay,
So we'll get as much as we can
okay.
out of what you've submitted.
So, just so I understand, so I'm at 180 right now, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, so Baldwin, we have to figure out what that is. The only other one would be Purdue. Would there be enough to do Purdue? And again, I'm not sure it's in Ward 1 or Ward 3.
So, can I, through you, Madam Chair, I think the issue, as of right now, is any of Baldwin in Ward 3?
Yes, Baldwin is, Purdue is not.
But not all of it?
Well, it's going to be.
Okay, may I suggest that we stick with what, as it is, as
Okay.
the lines are right now? So
Okay.
Ward 3 has a portion of Baldwin, but not all of Baldwin?
No, it has all of Baldwin.
Okay, so,
Yeah.
Because the boundaries have not changed as of yet.
Okay, so,
Yeah.
so Baldwin is specific, is totally a third ward problem.
Okay, but I don't think 83,000 was enough
Okay.
for So
But
I don't know if it
Purdue-
got split between 1 and 3. Is it 160 then? That's the
Okay.
question.
However, but Purdue is split block by block?
Will be.
But as of right now?
Is
As of
not.
today?
Is not.
Purdue, so Purdue is 3, Ward 3?
No, it's in 1.
Okay, so Baldwin is yours,
Yep,
Purdue is Mr. Lippian's.
correct.
Okay.
As
thank
far
you.
as, that's my understanding, yes, that's correct.
You guys have the magic map. I don't have anything in front of me right now, unfortunately.
But for some reason, they're on here in both places. So I guess my only question is, what's the ballpark cost for all of Baldwin? It's got to be more than 80,000. It's probably 160,000 to do, because it's concrete street. No, it's the whole street has to be redone.
Mary, you and I had 800 block of Baldwin on my paperwork.
Yep, you're right, Bill. Yep. We had the entire league to Purdue, but
We had
Purdue's only in one.
Baldwin Warren intersection, and
So then that would be the 83, most likely. That's the 800 and 900 block. Okay, so I need that all moved over, and then I'm done. I'll have to take something off. Okay, so I'm over. We'll have a bake sale to make up the difference.
If you take California off, well, that's.
Oh, California's bad, but you know what? Garford, Yale to Colgate is not all in 3. Garford, Yale to Colgate, some of it's in 1 and some of it's in 3, so. Well, that one I actually did split 50. That is half. Okay. 1 block. Okay.
That was one of the ones I had to say.
Okay, well, I guess we have to take California off. Okay.
If there's money left over, there's always an alternate.
These are all concrete streets too. These
okay.
are all concrete. These are not paved streets.
Oh, you're good, Mrs. Zerorka?
Yeah, I guess. Garford. Okay, so, I'm sorry, Kathy, so that Garford, that split between 1 and 3, the Garford repaving, so it'll be paved completely from Colgate, I'm sorry, from Yale,
Okay.
okay, but that's what I have. That 50,000 to do that section? 2 blocks. So, from, yeah. Okay.
So going forward, let's not worry about what the boundaries are gonna be in the future. Let's just deal with what we have now. I think that's the easiest way to do that. Okay, Mrs. Davis.
Through you, Madam Chair. So if I go back and do my 1 and 1.5, it will change somewhat. So can I just do that right quick?
Go ahead.
So, Clinton, from, the railroad tracks to Bell, so that's a number 1. And then Freedom Court is a 1.5.
You want that one?
I don't, but that's what it says here. Okay, and then Jackson, from Bond to Foster, that's a 1.5. Now, we have Leona on here, but you know, they're gonna do all that traffic. I don't wanna fix Leona now because of the
Absolutely.
traffic is gonna
Absolutely.
start up. So we're gonna omit that for right now. So now, since where we at cost-wise?
At 400,000.
So, Mrs. Davis, do you wanna take off Euclid? Cause you're way over.
No, we're gonna have to take off Louisiana because that's not true cost,
Okay.
right? That's, the spot concrete is not true. So,
Okay.
that's $263,000.
Yes, ma'am.
So now you could add Adams back on,
Yeah.
It'd be close.
So, yeah, Adams and Walnut, let's see.
be an alternate.
Adams from Walnut to High. Let's see what, ooh.
Now you're over.
Okay, just take it off for now. Just leave what I have.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Oswald.
Through you, Madam Chair. This is my list. I'm fortunate that right now, we got Overbrook. I'm not gonna be doing anything because I got some projects going on there. Washington Avenue, we're not gonna do anything because there could be some projects going on underneath that. That being said, I would like to start off with, to make sure that we definitely do Stafford, and I've got, the address would be 538 Stafford to Whitman. And there's only a small portion, I know 20 feet or so, that's concrete just before it starts blacktop. So that's what I'd like done there. The second one would be from Rosalie to Randolph. Nash, just a small section by the church. And some of these, I know, Mr. Forthover's got some measurements.
Mr. Oswald, so you're doing Randall? You said Rosalie, I don't see it on the list. I don't see Rosalie. There's a Randall.
Randall, from Rosalie to, oh, geez. Yeah, I had that, it's Rosalie.
Randall.
To Randall? It's Randall Road, yeah, from Rosalie.
Okay.
Yeah, and then there's a small section on Nash over by the church. And then, if we can finish out whether we have money or not, there were some sections that we discussed with some concrete cutouts, which would be, the actual street is, Naples, which would be from Loyola to the intersection of Antioch, and then Antioch from the intersection of Naples to Loyola. So we could finish out, see where we are, if we're over above, but that's what I'd like to see right there.
Stafford didn't add in, McKellar.
I had that in, but I don't think it's gonna be, excuse me. 538 to Whitman.
Oh, I,
It won't be that much. Mm.
F-42, yeah. There you go. Is that it, Mr. Oswald?
I'm sorry, that's only the two streets? I'm coming up with 257, which would be Stafford and Randolph. Is that what I'm seeing?
Yes, sir.
Don't get prices for the others.
All of that, though, would probably be the
We're done.
Yeah, I'm done. Well, I'll have some later conversations because right now, if that was measured from, on Stafford, from Abbey Road to Whitman, it doesn't have to go all the way to Abbey. If it was, so if it was measured from Abbey, or if it was measured from the beginning where the blacktop starts. So that's what I'm saying. I can stop in and we can go over that and not waste the time here, and then I'll go from there, okay? That's okay with you, Madam Chair?
But I guess my question is, we are trying to finalize this list tonight so that we can vote on it at the next full council. Are we gonna be able to do that? You're shaking your head, yes, okay,
And
okay.
Madam Chair, I will stop in and get those numbers changed, and I will have that prepared for the next meeting for vote.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Armstrong.
Through you, Madam Chair, did y'all, do you happen to get a price for Cedar Street for me? Is it under 50?
Armstrong, you had, just to go back on the four that were missing, Cedar Street, Cascade Water, and I didn't get the fourth one.
Cedar Street, Cascade, Water, and Riverside. It was a certain section on Riverside.
It would be House 1152 to 1110.
Thank you, sir.
So these aren't on either list, Mr. Armstrong? Okay. So you would prefer to have those four?
No, I just want to know the price, so I can pick some now, because I'll still have 50 left after I pick the ones right now.
Okay. The only thing you have under, well, you got a couple under 50. You got a couple.
No, the ones I can pick right now, until I know, I'll pick 8th Street, Mussey, 9th Street, and South Maple. That should leave me with about 50,000 left.
Is Mussey that bad?
Jeez.
Oh, okay. So even without those four, you're at 230.
Yeah.
I know.
Okay, gotcha, okay. Are you done, Mr. Armstrong? I don't want to cut you off.
Yeah, I'm done.
Thank you. Mr. Sarah, you can go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Don't even know where to start, to be honest with you. I know, Bill, when we went out, the list that I got today with the number one ranking, doesn't even reflect a portion of what we did. In some of the streets that, I guess most of them around here maybe. You had mentioned something about putting in whatever streets we wanted and you would work it backwards to get to that number?
Yes, if you pick the ones that, you know, like your list, we have the 400 block of Longfellow, Sandalwood from Abbey to Thornwood, Salem from Georgetown to Salem. We had that, I had estimated that at 150,000. If you can pick, what's the first one you want to do?
the second and third, we'll work it down to that 280 and that'll be it.
So I guess I'm gonna have to go with Longfellow definitely needs it. Another quick question on Hawthorne, down by the cul-de-sac there, was there any chance that some of that could come out of sanitation because of the damage that they've done on that curb and the cul-de-sac? And can that be widened a little bit at the same time?
We still have to do quite a bit of work in the St. Jude's area. After we complete the big sewer project and finish the restoration, we'll be looking at doing inflow and infiltration, reduction, and elimination work in that neighborhood, as well as installation of a relief sewer and storm sewers. There are a couple streets that don't have storm sewers yet. We're going to possibly, I know the relief sewer is going to be going down, what's the street that goes down through the middle? Doesn't matter.
You're talking about Greeley?
Yes. I know the relief sewer is going to go down Greeley. I think it might be coming up Olive, or the one next to it. But north of Poplar, we know there's quite a bit of drainage issues. So we're going to address that when we look at the I&I issues through the St. Jude's area. Unfortunately, right now, I don't know exactly the timing of it. We do have to have, per our consent decree, we do have to have that work completed within, I believe it's 8 years, 10 years. But we plan on starting to look at it probably within a couple years, if not sooner.
So, especially the part by Hawthorne, or Longfellow and Hawthorne, those, going into those cul-de-sacs there, there's no way in the world they're gonna wait 8 years.
Correct,
I
yeah.
just don't
I mean,
see that.
I just want to mention that just so, you know, you're aware that
And if you were telling me 2 years, then, you know, that might be a little bit more acceptable to the taxpayers, but they're not gonna wait the 8 years. So I'm gonna have to go with Longfellow, right, and then, over on, Hawthorne, I guess, to the cul-de-sac. And then Sandalwood,
Mr. Sierra, there are two Longfellows, one from Sycamore to 57, and then the same, but they're different prices.
right, and then that comes out to 114,000, I think.
Okay. You want both
But
of those done?
If possible, I mean, if they can work it backwards, if both sections can be done while the crew's there,
Okay.
or if we have to take a smaller street because of the fits, I'm fine with that. I'll have to go with that. I mentioned Sandalwood. And Sandalwood would be the, Abbey to Thornwood, I think, is the worst section there. So I'm at 1.2 million already.
Up here at 208.
Have money left over?
What would be the next section of Sandalwood? How much would that be?
Don't know, I'll have to. I don't have it on there. Yeah.
Okay, is there any cutoff, like on, you know, Wilder was another bad one over there. And I don't know that we can do the whole thing at one time, but was there a nice cutoff there? Do you recall?
We had Georgetown to House 851. We could look at that and give you a price. Or we had Sherwood from 863 to Georgetown. We had that estimated at 50 grand, so that would fit into your parameters.
No, I'll go with your judgment on that then. I mean, it's just got so many here that there's not any way that they're gonna get all done.
Wilder?
But then we had the remaining of Wilder to House 220.
Mr. Sarah, are you done, or what are we doing? Are they gonna give you a price on something, Mr. Sarah?
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Okay.
We'll measure it up, Jack, and stretch the limits out, because we had a couple different spots on Wilder. We actually had the remaining of Wilder to House 225.
Right.
So I'll go out and field measure it. We'll see where that number comes up to, and we'll give that back to you to see if we get closer to your 280. We do, you know, like I told everyone, we do like, if we're gonna do a street, we try to do all of it or a whole block. We don't wanna piecemeal it and move the mill and paver all over to just do certain spots. So we do need to get the most bang for the buck while we're on a block or multiple blocks in a row.
I mean, you know, like Marcel's needs to be done, but that's $93,000, you know. I'm just looking across here. Wilder, a little more to Georgetown, I guess, would be the most important section on that one. But we still have Sherwood and Salem, and it seems like an endless list, actually. Thank you.
Could you scroll up? Kathy, could you scroll up?
Scroll up?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so, Mr. Sarah, you're done, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so Ward 6, I would like to have Woodford from, Gateway to Garden. Garden Street from Barbara to Woodford. Spruce Street from Woodland to Lake. Ew. Those are all my ones and 1.5. I get to go over it. I definitely want Woodford Avenue from Gateway to Garden, because that's oh, wait. I know, wait. We talked about Woodland Avenue, Mr. Forthover. Woodland from,
House 700 to Lake Avenue.
is there a price for that?
No.
That did not rank a 1? I didn't even see it on my list. But we don't know how much it is.
Oh, I can get that to you, though.
Let's take out Woodford. I really would like Woodland from what you said to Lake. Spruce from Woodland to Lake. And Garden from Barbara to Woodford. So Murray Ridge, water T, from the water tower to the township line, the entire stretch of Murray Ridge is horrible.
Especially by the Murray Ridge School, from the water tower to actually the corporation limit, which is right beyond the school property, is bad.
But, yeah, this takes you from the corp limit up to, where, township is that? Carlisle, up to Carlisle Township line, is just past the school.
By the detention home. And that really isn't that bad. Headed north on Murray Ridge, from Adelbert all the way down to, from Albrecht, excuse me, all the way down to Bullock Parkway. That's what's really, really bad. And I know it's gonna be done, I know, in a year or two. Okay, so I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. I don't know what Woodland costs. I don't know what Woodland costs.
All section 700 to Lake.
Part of it, yeah. So let's do, I'm so sorry, I thought I knew what I wanted, but it's a woman's prerogative, changed my mind. So let's do Murray Ridge from the township, from the water tower to the township line, and take out Garden. Oh. No, that's not right. And let's add Spruce back in. Yes, yes, please.
Oh, this one?
Woodland and Penfield. Okay, that's close enough. That's really close. Mrs. Aurora.
Could you go back up to Ward 1? Because I'm looking on, I think Purdue actually splits down the middle of the street. So if Purdue is then put in Ward 1, well, we'll have to find out what Mr. Lippian wants, but I believe that, is Purdue on here? He's got it as a 3. Okay. I don't know what to do about Purdue because I think it's split down the middle. Baldwin is 100% in the 3rd ward. So that, yeah, it's not shared. So it probably, that's gonna be 160,000, I'm guessing, or if it was half was 83. So in Ward 3, it's gonna be 160, 165-ish. So, Vassar, Park to Garford, on Vassar, that's the 300 block, that's concrete, so that can come off. As long as you're doing Garford to Colgate. See, I'm not sure about the Garford, Yale to Colgate, because that's not all in the 3rd ward. So that 26, I may not be over because that 26,000 isn't all in 3.
Give or take?
Yeah, so that's where I'm at. Okay.
Disgusting.
And then I did notice at the bottom of this spreadsheet, it looks like, Tennessee or Defiance was down there. That's another concrete repair. Below, keep going, it was down at the bottom there. Yeah. Defiance at Tennessee, is that an alternate? Is that why you have that on there?
That was a leftover from, Yeah, may have
I'm
been-
sorry, Kathy, say again?
I think it was an alternate from a previous year.
Oh, gotcha, okay. Thank you, Madam Chair.
So moving back to Ward One, since Mr. Lippian's not here, I will ask you guys to select his, and then he can get with you to finalize that prior to the meeting. So if you guys want to pick his,
Baldwin's
Can-
terrible.
can you do it on the record for tonight?
Or you know what, he did. I didn't print it out.
One?
Yeah.
It's the list that they do.
See, yeah. Longson, he's got Longson as the one. Fairlawn is the one.
Okay, all right.
You have Mr. Lippian's list that he submitted, yes?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Hmm? As a 3.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
if I
Mrs.
may,
Dorcas.
thank you. Won't Longson be redone after they finish East Broad Street? I mean, that's only a stub. Longson, it's by the Dunkin' Donuts there. Will that be restored? He's got that listed. There's only 2 houses on there, because that dead ends into where the school used to be. Right?
Makes sense since it's only about
I don't know if
14
East Broad Street, if that will fix it or
I
not.
don't think it's,
No? Okay.
usually just goes into the intersection a ways. I doubt if it's gonna extend all the way down.
Sorry, through you, Madam Chair. If you did Vassar, the 300 block, that's concrete. That would be probably 100,000. I don't know.
You know what, let's put it on there for now. And
We'll pick them and then I'll go tomorrow and kind of measure them up so that we can get a better.
we'll also look at, Sugar Lane.
A lot of businesses on Sugar Lane were asking when it was gonna be finished. We did half last year.
Yeah, we did part of it last year.
Dot Drilling has been asking we're gonna finish it.
If there's any money left over for an alternate for Ward 6, give it to Mr. Sarah.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair,
Mrs. Davis.
I know I have a few dollars left over, and I will relinquish my few dollars over to Ward 7 also.
Thank you, Mrs. Davis.
Do we need to, are we good for Ward 1?
Are we good for Ward 1? Mr. Sarah?
Thank you. I just want to go on record and say thanks. I mean, I know we talked about this at the last meeting, but, it seems like on the number 1 streets throughout the town, there seems to be, a little bit of a imbalance there. And 7th Ward right now is the one that's being affected, but other wards are going to be affected going down the road. And I'm going to repeat what I mentioned last time. I think we need to at least entertain maybe a different way. The rankings that came out today, to me were wrong, but doing the number 1 streets citywide before any number 2s get down, regardless what ward they're in. I get everybody, wants to get their money and all that, and since I've been on council, it's been very fair. we've divided it up as equally as we could between each ward. But sometimes that's not fair to the taxpayer. If they're sitting on a street that's ranked number 1, and another ward's getting a number 2 street or a number 3 street done, just because they're got that far advanced. And, you know, I'm gonna be driving some of these streets and, you know, looking at them to find out, you know, just how bad the need is. But thank you.
You're welcome, and I hear you, and if there's a better way to do this, I'm all for it. I think what we do every year is fair, because every resident in the city pays taxes, so we can't say, we're not gonna do any streets in Ward 6 through whatever, and only do 7. We can't do that. That's not fair to the residents, the rest of the residents. So like I said, if you all can come up with a better way to do this, let's talk about it.
Right, and like I said, I don't know that I know a better way necessarily, but I just need to have people thinking about that going forward. Thank you.
Mrs. Zorica?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't know that I have a better idea. I agree with everything that Mr. Sarah said. I agree that we should think about what are the worst streets. I am a little perplexed as we had a list and then we suddenly got a different list tonight that kind of, I think, threw many of us off to make sure that to reprioritize. And so that made it a little bit more difficult. It's nobody's fault, and I'm not blaming anybody, but that would have helped if we were all on the
Same page.
list and we had the same rankings. So,
Yeah.
thank you.
I agree. Phew. Committee report.
Madam Chair,
Yeah, are we ready to do, Mrs. Davis?
I just want to make a comment also. In doing our streets, hopefully that our own department can give us some help and relief in some of these holes and areas of the city. Surely they can do something that it won't look so bad to help us get over. So some of these streets like, and I can name it, like Louisiana, you know, even though it's concrete, all those holes, my city should be able to come out and fill those holes and keep me through till the next time. So hopefully our own city, we can be able to step up to the plate and get them to do something. Thank you.
Ms. Davis. Mr. Oswald?
Through you, Madam Chair. We talked all about the streets, and I'm just gonna mention our crack sealing program. You know what, each year we seem like sometimes we make it, sometimes we don't, but that's such a great benefit. And I don't know how much money you got set aside for that, but that really helps out, that crack filling, and I think we made it stick on that schedule to keep doing that. That's what saves it, so we don't have to keep spending all this money. And if we could just get $7 million each time, that would be $1 million per ward. That would be so great, wouldn't it? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Oswald. Mr. Pianowski, please have the mayor take that under advisement. We need $7 million.
I was hoping for the popcorn machine to cover some of that. Please, thank you.
Mr. Armstrong?
Through you, Madam Chair. During my ride along with Mr. Furthermore, didn't you explain to me that we have machinery that we can do more than what we're doing right now? You don't have to get up. Please don't get up. Okay, get up then.
Selling it.
We do have the equipment to do spot repairs in the city of Elyria. We just have to use the equipment to do the spot repairs.
And hopefully we can do that going forward. If we have the personnel.
I'm hoping we can do that moving forward.
What equipment are you referring to, Mr.?
We have a skid steer with a milling head on it,
Okay.
which can go out, similar to if we go out and look at the county does it all over on the county roads. They mill out sections, they apply hot mix, roll it in, and then use tack to tack it in. It's a more permanent repair versus what we do of throwing patch and walking away from it. So the means and methods that we're doing here at the city are not up to the standards of what I think or the councilmen deserve.
Okay, well, I'd like to talk with you further about that, please.
Okay.
Thank you. So are we ready to do a committee report? The streets are not gonna be on here. They will be updated after Mr. Armstrong, Mrs. Zaworka, Mr. Lippian, Mrs. Davis, after you all get your, updates or whatever, but can we at least do a committee report tonight? Are we good with that?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mrs.
Thank you. Yeah, through you, Madam Chair. So, yeah, I would say that if the committee is in agreement that we'll go, my office will go ahead, we'll prepare this routine legislation and it'll be subject to a finalized exhibit from engineering. That's usually how we go forward. And if anyone has any additions, subtractions, amendments, what have you, get with engineering.
Thank you, Mrs. Seary. And I agree, I wish we had more money. I wish we could do every street that's on everyone's list. It's just not realistic. It's not feasible. It is what it is. And I recall the days, and Mrs. Zaworka will remember this, and Mr. Stewart, where we got nothing. We got nothing. Literally nothing. I mean, if we got $20,000, we were lucky. So, I mean, we're doing the best we can with what we have, and we're appreciative of what we get. I don't want to sound like we're not at all. We're appreciative, and, you know, we make it work. That's what we do. Yeah. Mr. Sarah's hand was up first.
Through you, Madam Chair, I just want to echo the same thing. I mean, when I first got on council, I believe the first year we had $160,000 to work with for all 7 wards. You know, and it just doesn't work that way.
Does not.
Thankfully, in 2016, we went to the voters, we got issue 6 passed, and we've made leaps and bounds, there's no doubt about it. Sometimes it doesn't seem like it when you sit here tonight and you still got 15 streets that need to be done and you can only pick 4 or 5 of them. I get that, but without issue 6, we'd be totally lost. Thank you.
I concur. Mr. Oswald?
Through you, Madam Chair, when can we get a copy of that list that we just kind of put together?
I'll defer to Mrs. McKillop.
What I'll do is I'll update the list, I'll update or add the new prices, new costs for the streets that were not on the list. Send it out, and then, you know, it can be tweaked however it needs to be, and then once we come up with a final product, then it'll be the exhibit for your ordinance.
The next council meeting is May 6th, I believe?
Yeah.
So will we be ready to vote in full council by then?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Zaworka?
Through you, Madam Chair. Is there any idea of what the pricing looks like for asphalt or concrete for 2024? Or is that unknown? I know the plants aren't open yet. I just wonder if it was going to be higher. The price, it's based on lots of factors, I know that.
They didn't go lower. They did not get low. They did not get cheaper.
All righty, thank you. If there are no other questions or comments, I'm going to read the committee report. Excuse me. We have considered the matter of the 2024 residential street resurfacing program, and this is an ordinance authorizing the mayor to advertise for bids and enter into a contract for the 2024 street resurfacing program, and to include the attached list of streets after they're updated. Emergency clause requested due to seasonal construction time constraints. I hate to even ask this. When are we looking that we may get started on this? Yes, ma'am. Or at least go out for bid. Okay. Okay, July's good. Okay, July's good. Thank you. So I read the committee report, and I'm sorry for my commentaries. Are there any additional questions or comments? Oh, I need a motion, please. I'm so sorry.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
It was moved by Mr. Oswald, second by Mrs. Davis.
Question?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. I thank you all so much for your good work tonight. It was a lot of time and effort put into this. Mr. Forthover, thank you so much for the ride-alongs. I love it, appreciate it. Mrs. McKillop, Justin, Mr. Snyder, thank you all for your hard work. No other business to come before this committee. I'll entertain a motion for adjournment. Moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Good night, everyone. Mr. Armstrong and Mr. Stewart, second.